What is going on, traders? I want to go over the short setup that I alerted today inside of the Discord. There was really an A+ setup that presented itself this morning, and I didn't plan on even taking a trade because it was NFP, because I already had a really big green week. But when this setup presented itself, it's like, the probability is in our favor to take this trade. So here's what I was looking at. We'll just go on the 5-minute just so you guys can see it. So we were looking at a massive displacement candle off of the 8:30 NFP news, 268 points to the downside. Now, typically, when this happens, the market likes to retrace, rebalance, and then continue. So that's a bias I had all morning, was that we were going to retrace, and then continue lower off of this bearish news, right? So how do we trade it? What we waited for and what my eyes were drawn to was that the market took this buy side liquidity up here that I have marked in this X, if you guys can see this here. Okay, so we always wait for a sweep of liquidity. And this sweep of liquidity was very strong because it was also filling this SIBI to the left. Okay, so the market was rebalancing price up into here. Orders are resting up here. The market always just draws into orders and liquidity. And then we get a sweep. We get a shift in price, which is a market structure shift here. And then we get a displacement lower through this inversion gap. Now, you could have traded the inversion up here. If you wanted to, it would have been totally fine to take that. There's actually a BPR resting up here that you could have traded that short off of, and then stops would have been above the swing. That would have made sense too. But I traded it a little different today because it was a Friday. I wanted to be 100% sure that we weren't just going to, shift here and then go higher. I wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to take this swing low. So what I waited for was an inversion on the 1 minute here. And the reason I used this 1 minute inversion was because this was the last line of defense for the bulls. This was the last 1 minute fair value gap on this leg up that the market needed to deal with before it was going to take this internal low here. So we waited for the displacement, always wait for a candle closure below the inversion. Okay. And then we waited for a retest of the inversion, which is right here. So price was super volatile. It did actually pierce and close right above the inversion, but it was still, the idea was still 100% valid here. And sometimes when the market is just opening like this, you're going to get candle closures. You're going to get a little bit of an inversion here, but the idea still made sense to take this swing low. And that's exactly what it did. So we entered right here. Stops were going to be up here on the market structure shift, which is also an order block. So I was comfortable putting stops here and then TPs at the low. Price delivered this trade in literally 2 minutes. It was a 2 minute, 80-point trade, and everything was A+ about it. We had we had a buy side liquidity sweep, which is this right here, as you can see, sweep into this gap here. Okay. And then from there, we had the market structure shift, which is marked in blue. Then we had an inversion, a retest of the inversion, and that's when we executed our short trade. So everything that we needed for this to be A+ was there. And that's the reason we took the trade. And that's the reason that it was such a quick trade too, because the liquidity was just so clean at these lows. And when the market spools like this, it's honestly the best. Like, you want to get in when the market's spooling in your direction, obviously. But in this case, there was just so much data and so many clues that, okay, the market was ready to finally take this swing low. And it went even lower than this, but we didn't even need that. We don't need that. We don't need much more than 80 points. I mean, we don't even need 40 points. That's plenty. We need 40 points. That's what I try to get every day. But 80 points is more than enough. So yeah, it was a pretty simple idea today, with everything lining up that made sense for me. And I think the biggest thing, and the thing that you guys need to learn on how to trade this model and how to visualize it, is always wait for a liquidity sweep. Always wait. This trade right here was 100% valid because of this sweep right here. If we don't get this sweep, I'm not even interested in the trade. Since we got that sweep and then we got everything else after it, as we're framing the trade, it's like, okay, check box. We have a sweep, market structure shift, inversion. It's everything I want to see in a trade setup. And then we execute and frame our trade around it. So yeah, this idea right here is something that you guys can learn rather quickly. I think the hardest thing for new people is to be able to identify this when it happens in real time. It's one thing to sit here and talk about it in hindsight, but your eyes over time will adjust and you'll be able to see these things on the chart, no problem. So anyway, if you guys made money on this, congratulations. This was a very, very clean trade for me. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Very, very, very simple idea today to net us 80 points. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week on Monday inside the Discord, man. Love y'all.